Did you know that AI can see patterns in your behavior that you can't? Most of us have this powerful pattern recognition system at our fingertips, and we're using it to write emails. If that's all you're doing with AI, you're missing the real opportunity. Using it to identify and break your patterns 10 times faster than you could alone. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn AI into your personal behavior coach using these 3 methods. When it comes to pattern breaking, knowing what to do is only about 20% of the work. The other 80 is building the tolerance for how uncomfortable it feels to do something different. Every single person watching this video has at least one thing they know they need to do in order to improve that's making their life much harder than it needs to be. You know you should have that difficult conversation. You know you should stop people pleasing. You know you should set boundaries. But when push comes to shove, it's always easier said than done. There is the option of going to therapy, but the problem is that a therapy session is usually around 45 minutes long and really expensive. So even if you can't afford it, there's only enough time to identify the issue, not practice how to break free from it. And this is why AI can be so useful, not particularly as a therapist replacement, but as an unlimited practice phase. AI tools like Claude or ChatGPT or whatever you use are available at a low cost whenever you need it and are judgment free. So let me show you exactly what these methods are and how to use them with AI. I'll also provide a template that you can plug into AI to get started on pattern breaking. I remember having a conversation with my therapist about letting go of working with someone who I thought was just not meeting expectations. The thought of telling someone you no longer want to work with them, for me, was so uncomfortable. My therapist asked, "What specifically are you afraid will happen when you say no?" I told her that he'll send a nasty message back. She said, "Then what?" And I said, "I'll probably just feel very uncomfortable and then block him and realistically move on." There was really nothing worse that could happen. And yet, although that conversation helped the rational side of my brain, it did nothing to alleviate the uneasiness I was feeling. This brings me to my first point. Things are uncomfortable when you're not used to them. The more you do them, the easier they become. So this is where you can utilize AI. Use ChatGPT or Claude to practice having the conversation that you fear. Before I sent that message, you best believe I typed that shit out in Claude. I think I spent around 30 minutes practicing what I was going to say, what they were going to say, and any possible response. Did it make me more comfortable sending that message? Yeah, it actually did. But did it make me just feel neutral about it and not uneasy? I mean, not really. But that's okay, because this is how change works. It takes time. I'll use my example above to show you how you can apply this yourself. Start your conversation with AI by saying, "I need to let go of someone I'm working with, but I'm afraid I'm gonna hurt them. Can you help me practice different ways to say this until one of them feels authentic?" Then use these follow-up prompts. Why does this version feel too harsh, weak, or fake? What am I afraid will actually happen? Can you help me challenge this catastrophic thinking? Give me a version that acknowledges their perspective but still sets the boundary. And you should practice until you can read the script without your chest tightening and the words feel like something you can actually say, and you've rehearsed your response to their worst case reaction. The goal isn't to memorize a script word for word. It's to build enough familiarity with the discomfort that when the real moment comes, you don't freeze. I saw this video a while back where a girl is lying on a towel in the middle of the street, tanning. Someone asked her, "What exactly are you doing?" She replied, "Exposure therapy." The purpose of exposure therapy is to gradually expose people to uncomfortable situations in a controlled environment. This brings me to method number 2, discomfort exposure ladders. It's virtually impossible to go from people pleasing to boundary setting overnight, even if you really try. But you can build tolerance gradually by practicing increasingly uncomfortable scenarios with AI before you face them in real life. The key is creating multiple pathways up the same mountain. Say you struggle with confrontation. You don't just practice getting more confrontational, you systematically vary different dimensions of discomfort. First, you can vary the stakes. Start with confronting about borrowed pens and then work up to unfair work distribution. Second, you can vary the medium, master in text, then phone calls, and then in real life. Third, you can vary the relationship. You can practice first with strangers, then acquaintances, and then family. Fourth, you can vary the emotional risk. Start when they'll be understanding, then defensive, and then potentially explosive. Let me show you exactly how this works with confrontation. Picture a ladder with 5 rungs. Bottom rung, you text someone something tiny like about the borrowed pen. Middle rungs is where you practice harder scenarios like phone calls, face-to-face talks, bigger stakes. Top rung, that's where you're going to practice the scariest version, like confronting your boss while your coworkers have to watch. But the amazing thing about this is that you could build your ladder in any way that you need. If you're scared of certain people, build a ladder from family to strangers. If you're scared of certain reactions, build a ladder from calm responses to explosive ones. If you're afraid of certain settings, build a ladder from private text to public conversations. You can start wherever your anxiety is manageable, around 3, 4 out of 10, and then you can practice each rung until it feels easy, until your anxiety drops to around 1 or 2. Then and only then, you climb to the next rung. So here's the exact prompt structure. We'll use confrontation as an example, but you're able to switch it out with whatever you want to work on. I struggle with confrontation. Create a practice ladder that varies stakes, medium, relationship, and emotional risk. Start me at 20% intensity and help me practice until my anxiety rate drops below 3 out of 10. So AI will create scenarios for you, and then you can practice responding, and then you can rate your discomfort after each round. If you spike above a 7 out of 10, you create a bridge level. If real life goes badly, you return to the previous level for 3 more sessions. This is exactly how exposure therapy works. You build tolerance through controlled practice. You can apply this to any object, situation, or sensation that makes you feel uneasy. Now, if you're struggling with identifying your negative behavioral problems, keep watching. This is the method that will help you keep improving. As you might already know, change doesn't happen overnight. Anybody who tells you otherwise is lying to you. So, this will require being on the lookout for patterns. When you notice yourself spiraling, stuck, or about to repeat a pattern, screenshot or copy paste your thoughts into AI and say, I'm noticing this thought pattern. What pattern am I stuck in right now? Going back to my initial story of how I was afraid of letting someone know I no longer wanted to work with them, I asked, I am noticing that I'm constantly afraid to confront people because I fear they will get hurt. What thought pattern am I actually stuck in right now? And the response was, you're caught in a thought pattern that therapists often call emotional caretaking or conflict avoidance, which typically stems from a few interconnected beliefs. Here's how you use this method. When you're about to send a message, make a decision, or take an action, pause and ask AI, what pattern am I showing in this message? What would a healthier version of this look like? What boundary am I avoiding setting here? And what discomfort am I trying to bypass? The key is asking before you act, not after. AI can't read your mind, but it can read your words and reflect patterns back to you in real time. The more you share, the more data it has to give you a definite answer. So try to take note of thoughts or feelings you often notice yourself going through. And if you want to learn how to take all of this information and implement it, stay tuned. All right, so here's how you'll actually implement this starting right away. Step 1, you pick one pattern to work on. Don't overdo it by trying to fix more than that. Step 2, you choose your entry method. For difficult conversations, you'll use boundary rehearsal. For situations where you're overwhelmed by intensity of change, use discomfort ladders. And for pattern recognition and awareness, you'll use real-time recognition. For step 3, you'll set up your first practice session by opening Claude or ChatGPT and start with exactly what I showed you. I struggle with setting boundaries. I need to practice saying no to plans. Can you help me? Step 4, track your tolerance building after each practice session. Write down, what was my anxiety level at the start? What was it at the end? What did I learn about what I'm actually afraid of? And what feels more doable now? And step 5, move to real life application. Once your practice anxiety drops significantly, you're ready to move on to the real thing. Not because you're now comfortable with it, but because you've built enough tolerance that you won't freeze when it matters. This method isn't supposed to give you the answers or play therapist. It gives you the ability to practice over and over again with zero stakes, speeding up the process significantly. It's amazing that in today's time and age, we have this tool we can use to help us with something so uncomfortable. Everyone should absolutely take advantage of it. Also, if you want to learn more about successfully changing habits, watch my video on making habit change easy. That's it for this video. I hope you learned how AI can help you break patterns. Remember, think better, live better.